Good morning, Lauren.
Hello. Hey, thank you for having me. I'm super excited.
Thanks for coming on. Welcome to the Bartcast. Um, that's good. I'm glad we finally managed to get this going.
I know. I haven't done an interview or a podcast in almost 6 months. So
That long, huh?
yeah, this is I hope I'm good for you here.
Yeah, you'll be fine. The chops die slowly.
Yeah.
It's actually interesting. Like one of the things that's come out of this project that I've been doing, I think 2 years now. Which was totally unexpected, but it's like made when I go interview for jobs, it's like made me way better at interviewing, which I was
Oh my
not.
gosh, I bet. Nice.
Like, I guess it makes sense. I've done a bunch of interviews, so but like I I like earlier this year, I just kept like crushing all these interviews, and I was like, what? Oh, I remember when that used to be hard for me,
Yeah, it's because you're used to it now. That's great. That's great.
So podcast is a good podcasting's a good has some good life skills that
Yes.
helps you with.
I've been listening to podcasts more now. I love true crime
Oh
podcasts.
yeah.
It's so funny. Josh will walk in, my husband, he'll walk into the room and I'll be like, and the body was found, blah, 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 blah. He's like,
Yeah.
what's wrong with you?
I know it's funny. Women like love true crime podcasts.
I don't know why. It's like the mystery aspect of it that I like
Yeah.
finally figure out who did it. Sometimes it's a super shock. Sometimes you can guess, but yeah,
What
fun.
was it like? I feel like Serial was like the first big got the
Serial.
ball
Yeah,
rolling.
I did. I listened to Serial. I listened to one to Live and Die in LA. Oh my gosh, I feel like you would actually think this was cool. It's about an actress who went missing, and the whole story was just a wild chase to find out where she was and who took her and all these things. And it was a true story.
Okay.
And it was happening in real time when I was listening to it. So it was very
Wow.
just like I couldn't wait for the next episode.
A page turner.
Yeah.
Yeah, I listened recently to there was this series called You Must Remember This, and it was like this woman, I guess it's a whole series on like the history of LA,
Oh
and this
wow.
particular like mini series within that larger thing was centered around like Charles Manson and the Manson murders, and like
Cool.
it
Oh, I'm gonna
really they
write
spend a
that
lot
down.
of time like talking about LA, like the LA scene in the 60s and like the
I
hippie
love.
era and how that filtered into Hollywood. And
Oh my gosh, I'm writing this down right now.
yeah, I'll,
That's
I'll send you the link. It was like very serial-esque, like
cool.
produced very similarly. But I had never really, that was before my time. So I remember like watching Once Upon a Time in Hollywood when it came out. And I know for a lot of people, it was like deeply relevant who had like lived the story.
Yeah.
And I didn't know the whole backstory. So it was fun to go
Oh, that's
and like,
fun. Okay, so I
you know,
haven't finished that show because I really haven't had time to watch shows. So I need to like after I'm done doing this movie, which we're almost done with, I'm gonna watch Netflix for like
yeah.
5 minutes.
Well,
Watch.
I'm talking about the Tarantino movie that he did.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, the movie, but I haven't seen that either.
Yeah. It's pretty good. I think if I had known the story, it would have been like a little more relevant to me. But just seeing like, I don't know, I'm such a Leonardo DiCaprio fan, and just kills it in the movie.
Really?
And, uh, there's some really great scenes. And just, going to a Tarantino film, I feel like he's one of those artists who's able to, create unapologetically, genuine stuff. Like he's going to be making it exactly the way that he wants. I think Wes
Oh yeah.
Anderson is very similar, where
Oh
like I can go to one of their movies and whether it's like my favorite or not, I know that they're not making any decisions that, other than what is going to be like the most true to my creative vision for this,
yeah.
which whether it's my favorite movie or not, like I have a lot of respect.
Oh yeah,
I know that that's not always the case in the modern world.
I know. And it's really cool that the team that surrounds those guys allow them to take complete creative control and just be like, okay, you can have that if you want it. Like, let's go.
Right. Yeah,
And
they're able to get like the money and the trust.
yes, yes.
And that, which I think is a good segue, maybe to talk a little bit about what it is that you do, and maybe dive into, how you talk about yourself and the work that you're doing these days. Like, what is the Lauren Swickard like title that you would give yourself if I asked you, if we met out grabbing a bagel or
Okay.
something, and I was like, what do you do?
Okay. So I um am primarily right now, I'm primarily a writer producer. I used to be an actress. I still am an actress, but right now my momentum in my career has come from producing and writing. Um, but I started in this business as an actress and I moved to LA almost 10 years ago, uh, not knowing anyone, not knowing anything about the industry. I started, you know, I was so young, but I started like submitting myself for little short films and stuff in North Carolina.
Mm.
And I actually, the first time I came out here was I booked a commercial um, online through a casting site for Proactive.
Okay.
The callback was in LA and the person, messaged me, I don't see you don't have representation on your account. Is there anyone that I could, book your callback through? I was like, no, I had no idea what I was saying. No, just, go through me. Where's the callback? It's in LA. And I was like, great, I'll be there. And I told my mom I'm going to LA. And she's like, no, you're not. And I'm like, I was 18 and she ended up coming with me and Justin Bieber was on set. It was
Oh.
Proactive commercial that he was in. I was just like the face wash model. I had to like splash my face with freezing cold water that was treated with something, so it tasted terrible.
Mm.
But I had to splash my face with water all day. That was my first time in LA and my first introduction into the industry.
You're like, hold on, let me put you on the line with my client. Hey, what's up? It's
Yeah,
my client
literally.
or her agent or whatever.
Yes. And then through that is when through that commercial booking, I got an agent and a manager. And then I really started working when I turned 19 and I moved to LA when I was 19.
Was it one of those classic stories of like you throwing everything in the back of the car and driving out? Or...
Yes, I actually flew out here and I moved in with a cousin of mine that lives here. He still lives here. We're great friends now. He was like he was like the older cousin that I didn't really talk to, but we saw each other on holidays and now all of a sudden I'm living with him. But he's great. He's like an older brother to me now.
Nice.
But yeah, I flew out here. I had my manager and my agent, and I booked a pilot pretty fast for CBS. It was called Anatomy of Violence, but it didn't get picked up. And that was my first real set that I had a role on. Before I came to LA, I was a PA for Screen Gems. I was an extras wrangler, a production assistant, which is like bottom of the totem pole. But so I had been on bigger sets before, but that pilot was the first time that I had been an actress on a big show.
Was that something growing up that you always knew you wanted to do? Like, were you a drama kid?
So I was a dancer, a ballet dancer, and my whole life was ballet. I went to New York City when I was 13, and I danced with the School of American Ballet, which is the New York City Ballet's children's division. And all my coaches were Russian in Ohio. I went to a school for professional children in Ohio so that I could do like a hybrid school and dance type of program. and so I was always, on stage in costume. I never did acting until I was in high school though. Um, but I started to get interested in the film industry in high school. We had a film class and I just loved it. I loved the storytelling aspect. I loved that if you are in a movie set in a different time period, that you can really experience what someone from that time period was feeling, and you could dive into characters. Yeah, so no, I wasn't involved in acting at all when I was young. I was just a dancer. But then I injured myself pretty, it was a pretty bad injury. I completely tore my adductor muscle.
Mm.
And after that happened, it was really hard for me to come back from it. So my professional dance career kind of stopped when that happened. And I started getting into, yeah, just acting classes in high school. And I loved my film class. So that's how I kind of got interested in the whole business. And the writing happened. I loved creative writing growing up. I thought I wanted to be a journalist after my dance career. That was the plan. I wanted to be a writer for a magazine or something. So acting, you read scripts. I mean, all day you get sent scripts and you read them, and you get sent sides, which are a selection of scenes that you audition with for the show that you're trying out for. And the more scripts I read, the more sides I read, I figure, oh, I kind of want to try writing my own feature. I didn't even start with a short film. I just started with a feature film, and I loved it. Fell in love with writing. And then I started trying to really pursue, okay, how do I get a script sold? How do I become better at this? I took all of the books, all of the most popular screenwriting books, and I just devoured them. And I have my script writing Bible, and it's just this old notebook that has basically lesson plans that I created for myself as I was reading all these books from all these, different ways to structure a feature film. There different formulas. And that's every time I start a new script or a show or a feature or a show, I have it like right next to me, and it's got coffee stains, and it's my everything when it comes
Post-its.
yeah, and if anything ever happened to that thing, now that I'm talking to you about it, I feel like I need to scan it or something.
Yeah.
That
You
thing is
still
old.
use it to this day.
Yes. Oh yeah, it's right next to me.
That's
Every
amazing. Do you
time
ever read the book Save the Cat?
Yes.
I think
Yes.
let's see if I can. Oh, I think I put it on my bookshelf.
I
I took a directing class like during the pandemic.
Oh,
And
cool.
because I have a couple movie ideas that
Okay.
at some point I want to create. And so it was like I started thinking about like, how can I use my time? And I found this local class and ended up, it was pretty cheap. I think it was like $500. It was like a month
Wow.
or something. And we were meeting, and the teacher was like one of these guys, like, I think as the class continued, he was coming real hot with like, how big he was and the work he had done. But I kept asking questions about it because like all he would really reference was like this one music video that he did like in the 80s.
A music video.
And he would do, king of name dropping. And like I kind of had like, for me it was like I went in knowing like I'm not really taking the class because of like what you've done or what your accomplishments are. I'm just like interested in, can I gain some knowledge and wisdom from you? And
Yes.
at a certain point I started to get frustrated because I was like, hey man, like I get it, like I trust you, you don't need to like keep selling me, you have my money, like can we just get past, like let's just say that for the sake of argument, like I just believe what you're saying, and you don't have to keep like starting every lesson with giving me justification for why I should trust you. I just
Oh,
wanted to get to like the knowledge part. And so
yeah.
I think there was like maybe a little insecurity there or something, but the class was great. And it like, I definitely took a bunch of notes, and it got me really like fired up on this idea that I have for a script and for a movie that I want to make. As well as like when you show up in one of these classes, I think it's like really beneficial to see kind of where your mind is at versus like all the other, there was a bunch of other people in the class, and it really made me feel like I was almost like, without tooting my own horn, like a little like ahead, like,
Oh yeah.
oh, I have this like fully formed idea, or I have this like, I've been working as videographer for years, and that definitely helps.
You've been around the atmosphere,
Yeah,
filmmaking and
on
everything.
sets, and so it just gave me like a confidence boost, and and then I like started to dive into the idea and realized like that I think I'm still a little ways off from like being able to get a movie funded. I'm
Yeah,
still
that's
building my network, still building those connections, and when the moment comes, I just want to make sure that I'm in a place in my life where I can devote the time and the resources to give the
yeah.
idea what it needs.
Yes.
But that's
Yeah.
great. It sounds like just I'm looking at this pattern of success in your life, and it's so inspiring to see like you come out, you get booked, like you got your what was I was curious, what was the process like of you deciding to write a film and kind of transferring from being an actress to a writer producer? How did
Yeah.
that process kind of flow for you?
So I never made the decision to move from acting to writing. Writing just gave me a sense of control is a weird word, but it gave me a sense of control over my creativity, because when you're an actress, you're just taking what someone else gives you and you're doing, I mean, you do have, you bring your own sensibilities, you bring your own experiences into any role that you book as an actress, but ultimately the creativity was already done. You just have to give life to someone else's idea. And so, like I said, I was reading scripts all the time, and I thought, this is, I could do this. I have this really different experience as a kid that I can pull from my dance background, and maybe I can, write a movie about that, because I know it so well, more than the average person, more so than even the average dancer. I did the New York thing and it was very dramatic. um so the transition was kind of just an outlet for me at first to put my own creativity into something. And my first script was called The Last Apprentice. And it was about my experience at the New York City Ballet. And, I wrote myself in as I modeled a character that I would have loved to play after my roommate, who was older than me. I was 13 and my roommate was 16, I think. So I made myself as if I were in her shoes. So I kind of told a way, it's not about anyone at all, but it was a version of, this person as me, because when I was so young, I looked up to her as like this older dancer that was in a higher level than me. And but once that script started to get, and I got the script out there, I wanted people to read it. I didn't have any hesitation with sending the script to producers I'd worked with. I had been pretty fortunate as an actress. I had worked on maybe 12 feature films as the lead before I started writing. So I knew a lot of producers and directors. And so, yeah, I just wrote this script, and I actually wrote it with a writing partner. We were roommates, and I started working on it. And I'm like, do you want to do this with me just for fun? And we wrote it together. She's an actress as well. And then we just started sending it to everyone, just cold emailing people. Hey, And once it started to get some really great momentum and really great feedback, I started to think, hey, maybe I can really do this and really learn about how to do this. So that's when I started reading books and making my writing more of a priority than the hustle that is acting. I kind of split my time between wanting to be an actress and wanting to be a writer. And yeah, the momentum with writing just kept going. I wrote 7 more feature films, and of the 7, in this period of my life, of the 7 features, I sold 2 of them.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's so cool.
Yes. And the 2 that I sold have never seen the light of day. They're still scripts that are just sitting with production companies.
Yeah.
I'm actually we're trying to get one of them back to do something with it because I love it so much. But yeah,
Did you sell that first one that you wrote?
The Last Apprentice, I didn't actually. That's still, I think now I know so much more about writing that now I'm like, oh, I don't even want anyone to read this one.
Yeah, totally. Such a good name though. That's a great name for a movie.
Thanks. And there's more dance shows that came out, like Tiny Pretty Things came out. That's a TV show. Black Swan. I wrote the script after Black Swan came out. But yeah, there are more. Dance is kind of making a comeback.
Yeah.
Content wise. So maybe I fix that up and send it back out there.
Get a refresh.
Yeah.
I'm curious, like when you sit down to write a script or write a story, what's your process for creating characters? Do you have like a special way that when you're thinking about characters and how they interact in a story, how do you draw inspiration to create these people? Is it always like from your own life, an autobiographical thing, or do like to dream people out of thin air, or like
Yeah. So
process is like?
the only time that I've ever used personal experience within a character, obviously whenever a creative creates, they use some part of their personal experience because you have to. You can't really be a creative unless you've lived a creative life, so obviously I use my own experiences and everything. But the only script that actually was inspired by myself inside of one of my characters was the first one, was The Last Apprentice. After that, I just started to think of all of these extremely talented actors that I've seen in my acting classes, and these small plays that go up in LA that 20 people come to, but are just so impressive, and people are so talented, but their talent can't see the light of day because of luck. Like, this industry is a lot of the time about luck. And I've seen that now, especially being behind the scenes with casting people and producing. It's a lot of just, oh wow, this person looks exactly like what the director pictures for the role, so we're going to do everything we can to make them work for this part. But actress A over here, her acting and talent won, but just because this person looks like exactly what the director had in mind, we're going to go with this person, so it's a lot of that. But I started to think about all these talented humans that I know. So really, I actually pull from different people. Like, okay, this one woman in my acting class, what kind of role could I write for her that would be absolutely in her wheelhouse, that she would just kill? And so that will be my first inspiration. And I won't necessarily write roles for somebody, but just a performance that I saw, or an audition tape that I actually watched because I was, producing something and I was watching audition tapes, and this person did something so cool. How can I make a character out of this, behavior that I saw that surprised me? So it's stuff like that. And I'm kind of weird when it comes to storytelling. I really believe that if we, hypothetically, if we could pull time away from our world and know that everything has already been created and already exists, you know, in a different space on the timeline. That story is meant to be told. It just has to find the right person to put it down on paper. So I truly believe that once I have the smallest inkling of an idea, I get in my zone, and then the story just kind of comes to me based off a tiny, tiny idea or a tiny inspiration that I've had. And I always start with, I call it my vomit story. So I just blank piece of paper, blank sheet, and I just type for like 3 hours, and it ends up being a 5-6 page long, not necessarily, I don't start with once upon a time, but it's really sloppy. And it's like, there's this girl and she, you know, she has long black hair and she lives in this, you know, swamp house. And I just type this whole thing out. And from there, then it turns into an outline. Then it turns into a scene breakdown. But yeah, the story just comes to me in that first, you know, long story. And it always comes from the weirdest, most random inspiration that I had. And sometimes I'll do one of those long, you know, long story sheets and nothing happens. I don't even write a script. I read it. I'm like, this has been done before, or this isn't really exciting. But yeah, that's the, you know, that's how I start my process.
That's so interesting. Like I think for every creative, there's kind of this balance of between like the openness, like allowing the ideas to take you in whatever direction that they want.
Mm-hmm.
And then like the discerner, the inner critic that is like, that's bad, that's good, we'll keep that, we'll throw that out. And I think for a lot of creatives, when you're starting out, that self-critical, self-judge voice is so strong that a lot of the process becomes like, how do I break through into almost that like child's mind where like everything's allowed, there are no bad
Yeah.
ideas. Because I know myself, you know, a lot of my friends and myself included can get really caught up with like, you know, oh, this is, you know, this idea, you know, you kind of get hung up on if you hit a snag or something like that. My friend, who's a really talented songwriter, has told me time and again he gets a lot of his ideas from dreams, because when he's in the dream, he's in this like deeply creative space, and his internal judge is like turned off. There's no
Oh
ego
yeah.
involved, so he's able to like get to, you know, to that place of just like pure creativity without judgment. And it sounds like you're able to like naturally sink into you. Do you ever struggle with that? Do you ever have like a hard time with the self-critique when you're creating your ideas?
You know, I am the furthest thing from a perfectionist when it comes to storytelling, just because the reason why I fell in love with acting in the first place was just the pretend, like the playing pretend aspect of it. When you're playing pretend, you don't have to follow any rules. Now, there are quote unquote rules for story, like script structure, but as long as you can put your crazy ideas into a correct, you know, now I used to not like this. I used to not like the outline process, and there's a formula to make a good movie and everything, but there, I believe that there is, but you can take any crazy idea and put it into the formula and make it work. So yeah, no, I guess I'm very fortunate that I can turn off my critique, and I kind of just let other people critique it for me and say that this is crazy. And
Mm-hmm.
enough people tell me that the idea won't work, then I believe them. But if there are a few people that are like, no, like this is cool, then I go with it. I keep going, you know?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you have you found that, you know, having done this process so many times, does that change the way that you like look at people, or like when you meet new people, or when you're like, I would imagine that maybe, you know, that when you're in this process so often of creating stories, creating worlds, creating characters, that can, you know, bleed into your normal life, your interpersonal connections and all that. Has that been
Yeah.
the case at all?
Yes. All of my friends laugh at me because I'm always, if someone tells me a scary story that happened to them on a hike, like, okay, if this was a Lifetime movie, this happened, we could totally make this movie. So I'm always thinking, and yes, it does into my life and my friendships, but it's fine because most of my friends are creatives and they go with it. They celebrate it, and we talk about, I was on a vacation and we were doing this group hike, and the tour guide had to take us in a big pass van from the hotel into the wilderness to start this hike. And there was rock climbing. It was wading through these dark rivers. It was a pretty intense situation, and the whole time I was looking around. There's nobody on these small roads, and I started to tell everyone, like, guys, if this was a story, if this was a movie right now, we would all be, going to, our organs would be being sold in the next 6 hours. So it's fun. I don't mind that it bleeds into my personal life because I can laugh about it. And sometimes, I had this script that I wrote based off of when my friends and I rented a house by a river near the Sierra trees, the Sierra forest. And the host was so scary. It was very scary. And I wrote a script. I mean, I fabricated all of it because it was a scary murder story, but I wrote a script based off of our experience there, and I used the cabin, and I used the river, and I used the little bar across the street. So sometimes it, does come to fruition.
Yeah, the process of mining
Yeah.
ideas from experience.
Yeah.
um I'm curious, like the process. I want to go back to this, the first time that you sold a script. What is that process like when you got your manuscript, or the draft or whatever, you start sending it around to people. What is that process like when someone decides they want to start, when they want to buy your script? Is there like a back and forth with changes and notes and
Yeah.
or,
So usually, if you know a producer at the production company, you usually attach the producer to the script if the producer likes it. Then that producer kind of takes it from you for a while and gets the funding, gets the production company to send it to the studio that they're attached with, or to, so there's that direction. But the other direction is sending it straight to the production company. And if the production company likes it, you get a lawyer, and your lawyer will negotiate the numbers. And then in that negotiation comes the drafts, the number of drafts. So you sell them your original story, and okay, they can have you write, they can give you notes 4 times, and then you do 4 new drafts. After that 4th draft, they take it from you, and they can get another writer to come on and do work on the script. So that was the case with my first script that I sold. We got 2 drafts, and then after the second draft, it went like into the wind. I don't know, at the production company.
yeah.
Yeah, so that's usually how it goes. I mean, you get interest. That interest turns into a negotiation for a purchase, and then you negotiate how many drafts you're going to do. I now kind of do an unlimited amount of drafts because then I can stay on it the whole time. And it's fun for me to, stay on the whole way through. And whether they bring on a co-writer that they want to try to give a different sensibility, like if it's, they need a male in there, then sometimes I'll do a co-writing process. Like right now I'm co-writing a Christmas movie. I don't know how much I can say about it, but I have they put a really awesome, talented actress as a co-writer with me, and she's never written a script before, but she gives the lead character a sensibility that we need to keep the story authentic, just because of her personal life that parallels so well with the lead character's life. And so yeah, the process kind of varies from company to company and situation to situation. So
That's
yeah.
awesome. Are we able to talk at all about the project that we met on?
Yes, we can. We can talk, we can
Okay.
say whatever we want.
We
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, well, so for all of you watching out there, me and Lauren met working on the set of Carolina Christmas, right?
Yes, now called Holiday Harmony.
Now that's right, holiday. I think that was like a
Yeah.
subtitle when I was working with you on it.
Yes,
remember
it was,
those two.
we didn't know, but
Yeah,
yeah, they changed.
but
Yeah.
yeah, it was shooting up in Petaluma in the North Bay,
Mhm.
and correct me if I'm wrong, but was that your first like script that was actually being made into a film?
No, that
Okay.
was, so that was my, okay. That was, so I did two, okay, so two of my movies, California Christmas and California Christmas City Lights, which are Netflix. It's a Netflix trilogy. Those are my first two that actually made it to screen, which
Okay.
was amazing.
Yeah.
The best experience ever to see what you wrote come to life. It's just like wild.
Which
And
you and your husband starred in together,
yes,
right?
yes.
Did you guys meet on that project or were you already together?
No, we were already together. We met on a project almost a little over 5 years ago. Another movie on Netflix. We met as the two leads of the movie. And that's how we met. And then I did a TV show called Casa Grande about migrant workers, and I had a great team on that one to give the authenticity that you need for a show like that. That's going. I can't say where that's going, but it has a home. And we shot 5 episodes. They're going to air the first 5 episodes, and then if the first 5 episodes do well, then they're going to keep going. So that will go to screen at the end of 2023. And so then Holiday Harmony would have been my fourth project that actually made it to production.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you wrote that, and then you also were a producer, right?
Yes.
When
So
I met you, you were producing on set.
yes. So or Christmas in Carolina was a script that was purchased by ESX, who have a deal with Warner Brothers. And ESX hired me to come on and give the story a little bit more fluff. And I did a rewrite on it, but I worked with the original writer. So him and I are going 50-50 on writing credit on this one. And then, yeah, I was lead creative producer for this one. It was my first time actually being the lead creative producer on this one. The others, I was a showrunner on Casa Grande. And then the other two movies, I was creative producer, but I actually had someone above me because I needed to be shown the ropes. I had never produced before the California Christmas. So I was just kind of really side by side with the other creative producer. But yeah, Casa Grande, I was showrunner.
What's the difference between a producer and a showrunner? I've always wondered.
So a showrunner usually has writing control of the entire, and a showrunner is only for TV. It's not for movies. So a showrunner has control over the entire story from seasons 1 to, seasons 10, as long as they're the active showrunner on the show. And they act as a creative producer, a producer, and a writer. It's kind of doing it all. It's a very hard job. And I had a great, her role was showrunner executive, and her name is Derica Barbie. And she kept everything organized. I was very pregnant at that time, and it was COVID.
Yeah.
And so I was actually acting as showrunner from Zoom all day long. I was Zooming with monitor.
Wow.
So I was watching live what was happening through Zoom. And then Derica was acting as like my presence on set. So she would go and run and give the actors a note with the director, and she would communicate with the director for me. And that was wild. That was wild. But yeah, Holiday Harmony, the movie we met on, that was my first time being lead creative producer of a feature.
Nice.
Yeah.
And is that movie out now, or are you able to say when it's going to be available?
Yes, so it's going to be on HBO Max. It's not out yet. We are still in the final mix. So we're doing color, we're doing sound, we're almost done. But HBO Max, it's starring Brooke Shields, Annalise Sapero, and Jeremy Sumpter. The cast was so, I mean, you met them. They were all so nice and so
They were
fun.
great.
And you can tell their spirits are so high offset that it makes for a really happy, a great atmosphere on screen as well. So I'm really proud of it. I'm really proud. So it'll come out, either HBO Max has final say of that. So I don't know exactly, but I'm assuming Thanksgiving or Christmas.
I would imagine that's got to be like such a satisfying feeling to watch this idea that just kind of started with that vomit draft or whatever.
Yeah.
And then suddenly you're watching these like real people, being these characters. And
yes, it's crazy. Now with this one, the world was already created for me with this original writer. So I had his characters and his world to then use as like my blueprint. So it was a different process. This is the first time that I actually did a rewrite for somebody. I had never done that before.
So you were the writer that the studio brought in, like you said earlier?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I had never done that before. It was fun. It was really fun. Yeah, it's a wild. It's probably one of the coolest experiences that I've been through, is writing something on paper, thinking about these characters in these locations in your mind for so many months, and then the first time you drive up to set and you see your world in front of your eyes, it's so cool. It's really cool.
That seems like it would be like just such a exciting and satisfying thing. I remember, when I met you on set, you were definitely like taking it all in. I felt like you were very present and like just living in the moment,
Oh, thank you. I feel like I was a chicken with my head cut off on that on that last day that we were together.
Yeah.
That was a big day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was a lot of energy being output on that.
Yeah.
I'm curious what it was like for you to be, a lead in a movie with your husband. Like like you guys are in a relationship together. Were you married at the time when you made your first film together?
We were married. We were married for a year. We actually went to dinner on our day off and celebrated our 1-year anniversary while we were filming that movie. So that was one of the sweet things about the success of that movie, was that people would watch it, like it, and then later through doing, whether it be Instagram or Googling or whatever, they would find out that we were married in real life, and then they would be like, oh my gosh, it's so cool, it's so cute.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was so fun because during the writing process, I was writing the characters for us.
Did you have him in mind as the lead from the start?
So actually I had him in mind for the lead. I didn't have myself in mind for the lead. I really didn't expect that to happen. Basically how California Christmas happened was the owner of ESX Entertainment, Ali Afshar, who is just an amazing man. He is the type of person that gives you a chance based off of your potential and really just lets you prove yourself. He's wonderful. He is the only reason why any of my stuff has been on television, because he gave me that first chance, that first real chance. But he said, hey, it's COVID, like no one's making Christmas movies right now. It's COVID, it's pandemic. No actor is going to kiss another actor. There weren't even COVID tests when we started writing the movie. And he goes, we're going to do a bare minimum crew. We're going to have everyone in masks. We're going to figure out how to do this safely. And you and Josh have to be the leads. Like, you guys have to do it.
Yeah.
Because at first he wanted to see if we could get a movie in production that was a Christmas movie, because no one would have a Christmas movie for, in time to deliver because of all the setbacks with COVID. All of the production companies were kind of like on pause. And then as we started going over the logistics, oh my gosh, no actor's going to want to be intimate, in a space where there's no masks and everything. But because we were married, oh my gosh, that doesn't matter. And so then the script became, me and him together. And it was so fun because he was such a big part of the writing process. He would be in the office with me, playing with scenes. I'd say, I need something along the lines of this. Just like start talking to me about this. And then he would talk to me and I would write it down. And then on set together, we're super fortunate. We have the same kind of sense of humor. And so we just had such a fun time on set together. And there was no bad energy. Like him and I didn't butt heads ever. It was just all great, which was awesome to know because we had never worked together before, aside from on the movie we met on. So yeah, it was fun. And then the second time around, the sequel, we had just had a baby 8 weeks before we started filming.
Wow.
She was a little over 2 months old. It was longer than 8 weeks. But even that, the stress that comes with, oh my gosh, somebody has to go check on Savannah in the trailer with the babysitter, with the mom, because we had both of our moms tag teaming in the trailer with the baby, in the hotel room with the baby.
Mm-hmm.
That posed a lot of, a new level of stress, and still we made it work. We had fun, no butting heads. We worked so well together. So we want to do it again in the future. We really would love to do more movies together.
That's so cool. That's such a rare dynamic to be able to, because there's so much pressure on you. You're carrying this film and you're doing it with your partner, and to be able to engage, both as professionals, as actors. You're also like, I think inevitably letting some of your relationship leak onto the screen. Like that's why your characters come alive, right?
Yes.
Did you guys do a lot of improv in those roles? Like,
no, we didn't. The two of us didn't do a lot of improv because our character with improv kind of comes comedy for both of us.
Yeah.
I was a Groundlings girl for a while, so anytime I start to improv, it just gets ridiculous.
Wait, what's Groundlings?
Groundlings is a very popular improv school comedy. You should go to a Groundlings show when you come to LA next. We're gonna go to a Groundlings improv show.
I'm down.
You will just scream laugh the whole time.
Yeah.
But I used to do that, and so yeah, no improv happens with us on screen because it would just be ridiculous. But we allowed. So the first movie, there's a character named Manny, played by David Del Rio, who's actually the lead in a new show called Maggie. He's amazing. But his role, I actually was watching Beauty and the Baker as like my distraction show at night. Before I went to bed, I needed to like tune out, and Beauty and the Baker was our show. Josh and we were watching Beauty and the Baker, and this kid was hysterical. So I said, okay, I want to write a role for this guy, and let's call his agent and see if he'll do it. He said yes. So I wrote a role for him in California Christmas, and he was basically all improv the whole time. And it was hysterical. So then the second time around for the sequel, I really didn't write lines for him. It was just all whatever. He knew his character. He went for it. And you see it in the movie. It is just hilarious. It is so good.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Were you did you get to be involved in the casting process of either of those films?
So the first time around, we didn't even hire a casting director.
Wow.
We were calling our friends because, like I said, it was the pandemic. So it was just a weird time, and we just needed to know that the people we were working with were going to follow the rules. Like, stay in your bubble. Do not, on your off days, please don't go to bars. We can't bring, if somebody on our set gets COVID, we don't even know, because the testing, I mean, we were delayed so much trying to get a lab to work with us to get tests. It was like the first time COVID tests started to exist and labs started to get, so we just called friends that we knew and we trusted, aside from David Del Rio, who happened to just be an amazing human being. Yes, that was the only person that was like outside of our friend zone in that movie. Everyone else was a friend of the director, a friend of Allie's, a friend of Josh and I, and it was great. And then for City Lights, yes, we did hire a casting director. I was part of the casting process. I actually really enjoy being a part of the casting process. I love watching. I tell my casting directors, look, I want to watch as many tapes as I can. So give me the link. Just let me add it. Like, I will watch 100 tapes in one day just to not miss anybody, because my heart just breaks for, like I said, all these amazingly talented actors that I know that just, whether they slip through the cracks or don't get seen, I don't know, but when I'm a part of that process, I feel that I can give a chance to someone who maybe, a producer might not sit down for 12 hours and just watch tapes, so I like to be adamant that I want to be as involved in the casting process as I can be.
Is that common in your experience in the industry, where the writer gets to be involved in casting the story, or is that something that you have to kind of fight for? Or
as a writer, as only a writer, that's not available. Usually, there probably are special cases, but usually as a writer, you're just a writer. But when you're a producer, you absolutely have the choice to, be shoulder to shoulder with casting and watch those tapes.
Yeah, because I have to imagine as a writer that you really are letting go of, you might have a very strong idea in your mind of what the character is going to look like or who they're going to be. I could imagine that being a process emotionally that you'd have to, get through. If, let's say, someone gets cast and you're like, man, that is not this person, but with any collaborative project, right, there's a certain amount of sacrifice of what we can't all hold on to super tight to our ideas. I mean, sometimes we can, but I would imagine that you kind of got to make peace with that fact, when you're handing off your script to a team.
Big time. Big time. Big time. You just gotta know that your world and your characters are going to exist, and it might not be exactly what you had in mind, but it's still, it's still that inspiration that you have coming alive, and you just got to hold on to that, because if you hold on too tight to she has to be this and this, and he has to be like this, it makes for disappointment. And I have been fortunate that I learned that early on from, talking to other writers and producers and everything. People told me that to really let go, and I did, and it just made it a better experience for me.
That's great. Yeah, I had that experience actually the first time I directed. I got my start directing music videos, and I was working with, as luck would have it, talking about luck, my first directing gig was for, this pretty famous band, the California Honey Drops, who are my favorite at the time it was my favorite band. Like these guys were
Wow.
like my idols. So, you know, getting hired to direct a music video for them, I was a little, losing it, but also like really just
That is so
so,
fun.
yeah, just wanting to knock it out of the park, really wanting to do, uh, I cared so much about the music and I really wanted to do the song justice with the video that I was creating. And I had that experience on set where, you know, I was so nervous that I made out, kind of by the 15 minutes, I blocked out the entire shoot day and I was like, I got to be on schedule. And we stayed on schedule, but there were a couple moments where other people had ideas that were in conflict of what I had in my mind. And in the moment, I was able to where I came to it in my mind was like, if I let this person, even if I know we're not going to use it in the final cut, if I take the time and I shoot this person's idea, for the rest of the day, they're going to be way more engaged on the project and they're going to give me back like tenfold what I'm giving them. And I actually found there was a couple moments where I'm like, this is actually one of my favorite parts of the video. It never would have come into being if I had held on to my, to my idea.
Yes.
And that was a huge, that's something that I try to bring into every production that I'm a part of, is because we can't always see like our own blind spots or our own limitations, or when you get these other minds together, that's the beauty of collaboration. People are going to give you ideas that you would never think of, and sometimes those end up being like the things that make the scene or make the video or make the movie. Like how many great ideas are the results of happy accidents.
Yes, yes. And if you have a mindset going in beforehand, that I'm going to be open to any idea, we're going to try to make everything work, then it just makes for a much better experience and outcome. Like you said, like that tiny thing being one of your favorite parts, that happens to me often and it's so fun and I love it.
Is there, when you think about like, the types of movies that you like to make, that you like to write, I know that they're like the kind of romantic comedy thing kind of seems to be a lot of the ideas that are coming to your mind. Do you have like other genres that you are dreaming about making someday, or
So it's funny you say this because I actually, romantic comedies and Christmas comedies aren't, I love them, of course. I love creating them. But my favorite scripts to write are dark drama. Like my show, Casa Grande, was a drama. And that is what I connect most to. And thrillers.
Mm,
Like I said, I love listening to those crime podcasts.
right.
That is what I would love to move more toward. I always picture my career as a staircase, and I tell everyone, this part of the staircase is just covered with Christmas lights and rainbow, and it's fine.
Yeah.
This stair is just all Christmas lights, and it's fine. I'm still here. So, but yeah, eventually I would love to start. Like I have a concept that I'm so excited to make room for, to start to put down. It's a drama about a girl in foster care, and I'm really excited about it. So hopefully I have time to start that soon.
Do you go out and do research for when you're writing these stories? Like, has that ever been a part of your process? Like, if you're writing about a rancher, you go like hang out on the ranch, or
Oh yeah. So with Casa Grande, because of COVID and I was super pregnant, I actually couldn't go in person, but the inspiration came from being on one of a very large dairy farm in California and seeing the migrant workers housing and the migrant workers' kids that were running around and playing with the baby cows. And I was so fascinated by these people that I've never even thought about. Yet they're the ones that are putting the produce in our grocery stores. You know, without these people, we wouldn't have fresh fruit in the aisles of Ralph's, you know? So I dove in hard with research and calling people and getting a team together with a lot. I mean, ESX really helped get this beautiful team together, that gave the show authenticity, and that's in that the migrant, you know, in that space. A lot of the show is also in Spanish, so we had some writers that were, you know, spoke Spanish and had stories that paralleled to a lot of the migrant workers, their life story. We had a story consultant that was incredible, just to make sure that we were, you know, doing everything right. A lot of the show has to talk about immigration laws and ICE and everything, and the history of how that started, because we go into the past with 9/11 and how immigration just started to become a massive deal. And here I am, this little white girl, talking about all this. So with that show, there is a giant team of people that just give that thick honesty when it comes to all that stuff. So yeah, that was very fun. That was probably the most research I've ever done for a project.
That's awesome. It's
Mm-hmm.
getting me in the headspace. I'm leaving for Guatemala in 3 days, so
Oh wow!
I'm very excited to go work on my Spanish a little bit more and
Yes,
jump in the volcanic lakes and all
you
that.
got to talk to my husband. He speaks Spanish. He grew up going to Guatemala all the time.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I gotta send me your Rex. You know.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, me and my brother are doing a brother trip. I went to Costa Rica last year. This is going to be my 4th Spanish speaking country in 4 years. So,
Nice.
you know, my brother dropped me off at the airport, and then he picked me up when I got back, and he got to see like the time lapse, the difference.
Cool.
And when I got back, I think he was like, I want whatever that was, you know, like, and he hasn't really done much. He's done a little traveling in his life, but not for a while. And traveling is really important to me. And I've really been trying to get the bug going in him.
Yes,
And
cool.
so I'm hoping that, you know, we're doing a pretty sweet trip. We're going to do 2-week yoga retreat on Lake Atitlan, watch the
Oh,
volcanoes.
wow. That's so
Apparently
cool.
you can watch the volcanoes erupt from where we're staying. And
Wow.
then we got a week of free travel. So
Oh, that's awesome.
very excited. I'm hoping that, like, my dream is that we'd go on this trip and then he gets inspired to take his own trip, because I think like the solo travel, at least for me, has been like such a powerful tool for building self-reliance and confidence, and really like learning and discovering things about myself. It's something that I want everybody to get an opportunity to do.
Yes, I need to do more traveling. I feel like when Savannah is older, or however many kids we have, once they get a little bit older, we can start doing that as a family. But yeah, that's awesome. I hope you have the best time.
Thank you. Yeah. The last thing I wanted to ask you is, I was looking up your IMDb when I was prepping for the show, and I saw that you were on Dear White People.
Yes. Oh, that was so fun.
Which season was that?
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna be
Remember?
terrible. I don't remember. It was either season 1 or 2.
Okay, so I've seen it. I've seen the first 2 seasons. So
Yes. So
before I even met you, I saw you. I saw you on that show.
That's so awesome. Yeah, I played Coco's first roommate. And it was so much fun working on that show. The director is awesome. Talk about improv. She let me improv a little bit.
That's
She let me
awesome.
improv a little bit. Oh, it was so fun. Yeah, that was a great show to be on.
And funny. I definitely I haven't seen the new season that just came out, but I definitely got sucked in.
I know, I gotta watch. I didn't even watch my season. I have to watch.
I love the I felt felt like the coloring, like the grading on that show, it looks so nice. Like whoever
It's
they got to do like the post work, that was one thing that really stuck out to me was just the way that they graded it.
yeah, that was such a great set. Like everything was expensive, you know, the good
Yeah,
stuff, the good stuff.
top of the line.
Yes.
Sweet. Well, Lauren, thank you so much for coming on. It was awesome having you on the show, and
Oh,
we'll definitely, I want to do it again when I'm actually down in LA next time, and can get us on the nice cameras. And
yes, let's go. Let's do it. Tell me when.
Want to check in about your projects in, in real time. And how can people connect with you, find you? What's the best place for them to suss you out?
So I only really use Instagram. I check my DMs every like month, and
Nice.
I answer some questions.
Yeah.
So yeah, just on my Instagram, it's just my name, Lauren Swickard.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah. And thank you for having me. This was so much fun.
It's my pleasure. Well,
Yeah.
where are you right now? You're in Big Bear? Is that what you said?
Yes, I'm in Big Bear. We have a little cabin in Big Bear. We came home to mice and scorpions. So
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
I'm actually having, after this call, I'm going to call a bunch of people to help me get rid of those because can't do that.
You don't want it, yeah, especially with the baby running around, you don't want scorpions.
I know. So bad. Anyway, very
Yeah.
normal in Big Bear.
I had this experience when I was in India. I was doing a Vipassana meditation retreat, and we were doing like 2 hour long meditation sits. So like my back would just get so shredded,
Wow.
because us Westerners are used to having seats or backings to our chairs.
Yeah.
And so, we'd get like 5 minutes in between, do like an hour of meditation, 5 minute break, and then another hour. So I would run back to my room and then try to do like some stretching and yoga on my little bed. And I was doing like, upward facing dog. And I felt something in between my fingers, and I looked down and there was a little scorpion right in between my fingers. And I'm like squeezing it with my fingers like this. And it was like, I think one of the dangerous, they say like the smaller ones are dangerous. It was definitely one of those. And I would like look down at it, and it was just kind of like, and I just like pulled my arm back, and I was like, oh my God, like,
I was like, what are you doing to me?
yeah. And I
No.
think maybe I was on like the right wavelength, so it like didn't sting me. But man, if I had gotten stung, I was up in the Himalayas at this little like retreat center. It would have been bad. So I took him and I put him outside, and
You didn't smush them? I would have smushed them.
no, I don't. I'm a more of a catch and release type of
I like that. Those are the good
person.
ones.
What'd you say?
Those are the good ones. Those are the good people.
Yeah, I mean, I have this theory that people are like, I kind of break down people into two groups. It's like either you're creeped out by snakes or you're creeped out by spiders. And I feel like most people, it's either one or the other. Like for me, like snakes don't really give me the willies, but spiders really do.
Yeah, same.
And, so I have my own pact or my own agreement with spiders is like, I'll like, I'll take you, I'll put you outside. I'm not going to squash you, but just stay out of my bed.
Yeah, yes. Well, now all the talk of spiders, and like, I need to make sure that I get rid of all of them now.
Yeah, go get those scorpions out.
Yes.
Thank you so much for coming on, and
Thank
let's be in touch, and just all the best.
Awesome. You too. See you soon.
All right. Thanks, Lauren.
Bye.
Bye.